The rain came down in sheets, turning the Boston sidewalk into a river. Stephanie Carlo stood under a broken bus shelter, water streaming down her face. Her phone pressed so hard against her ear it hurt. The voicemail beep mocked her for the 7th time. "Kyle, I swear to God, if you don't pick up right now." Nothing. Just a stupid voicemail greeting. The one where he tried to sound cool and laid back. She wanted to scream. Jay's daycare closed in 40 minutes, and she was stranded 3 miles away with no car, no Uber accepting her ride, and an ex-boyfriend who couldn't be bothered to answer his damn phone. Her thumb hovered over his contact. One more try. Just one more. She hit call. It rang once. Twice. Finally, "Kyle, where the hell have you been? I've been calling you for 2 hours. This isn't Kyle." Stephanie froze. The voice was deep, controlled, nothing like Kyle's casual drawl. Her heart dropped into her stomach. "I what?" "You've reached Leo Hartwell. I think you have the wrong number." No. She pulled the phone away from her ear, staring at the screen through rain-blurred vision. The contact name stared back at her. Leo Hartwell, CO. Oh, God. Her boss. She just screamed at her boss. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hartwell. I didn't mean. I thought you were someone else." Clearly, there was a pause, and she heard something in the background. Traffic, maybe. "Are you outside? Where are you?" "I'm fine, I just—" "Miss Carlos, you're clearly not fine. Where are you?" Stephanie closed her eyes. This was humiliating. The CEO of Hartwell Industries, the man who barely acknowledged her existence in the elevators, was now listening to her fall apart over the phone. She should hang up. She should apologize and hang up and maybe start looking for a new job tomorrow. But Jay needed her. "I'm on Boston Street," she heard herself say, "near the old theater. My car broke down, and I need to pick up my son from daycare in 40 minutes and—" "Stay there." "What?" "Stay exactly where you are. I'm 15 minutes away." The line went dead. Stephanie stared at her phone, rainwater dripping from her fingers. What just happened? Leo Hartwell, the man who wore suits that cost more than her monthly rent, was coming to get her? This had to be some kind of corporate courtesy call. He'd send a car. That made sense. CEOs sent cars. They didn't drive themselves to rescue employees they'd barely spoken to. She tried Kyle again. Voicemail. Of course. 13 minutes later, a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. The passenger window rolled down, and there he was, Leo Hartwell, in a charcoal suit that somehow looked perfect despite the weather, leaning across the center console. "Get in." Stephanie didn't move. "Mr. Hartwell, you really didn't have to. Your son's daycare closes in 27 minutes. Get in the car, Miss Carlos." She got in. The interior smelled like leather and something expensive, probably his cologne. Stephanie was acutely aware of how completely soaked she was, how her mascara was definitely running, how her cheap blazer was dripping water onto his pristine seats. "I'm ruining your car," she mumbled. "It's just water." Leo pulled back into traffic with practiced ease. "What's the address?" She gave it to him, and he programmed it into the GPS 17 minutes. They might actually make it. "I really am sorry about earlier," Stephanie said, staring at her hands. "I thought you were my ex." He was supposed to pick up Jay, but he's not answering his phone, and I've been calling for hours. "You don't need to explain. I was rude." "You were desperate." Leo glanced at her, and for the first time, Stephanie really looked at him, not as a distant CEO in board meeting presentations, but as a person. He had gray eyes, sharp and intelligent, but not cold. "Not right now. Anyway, there's a difference." Something in her chest loosened. "Thank you. For this. I'll pay for any cleaning fees for your car. Don't worry about it." They drove in silence for a moment, the rain hammering against the windshield. Stephanie watched the GPS countdown. 15 minutes. 14. "How old is your son?" Leo asked. 4. "His name's Jay." Stephanie felt herself relax slightly. Talking about Jay always made things easier. He's obsessed with dinosaurs right now, specifically velociraptors. I've watched Jurassic Park about 50 times in the last month. The corner of Leo's mouth twitched. Was that almost a smile? Smart kid. Too smart. He asks questions I definitely don't know the answers to. She tucked a strand of wet hair behind her ear. Like yesterday, he asked me if velociraptors paid taxes. This time Leo actually laughed. It was a good sound, warm and genuine, completely at odds with the intimidating CEO image. What did you tell him? That they had an excellent accountant. Solid answer. The GPS showed 12 minutes. They were going to make it. Stephanie felt a knot of panic in her chest slowly unwind. She snuck another glance at Leo. He drove like he did everything else, with quiet confidence and precision. His hands were steady on the wheel, his expression focused but calm. Can I ask you something? The words were out before she could stop them. Go ahead. Why did you come? You could have just sent a car service. Leo was quiet for a long moment. The rain filled the silence, a steady rhythm against metal and glass. Because you needed help, he finally said, and I was available. It was such a simple answer. Too simple. Stephanie had worked at Hartwell Industries for 2 years, and she'd never once seen Leo Hartwell go out his way for anyone, let alone a junior marketing associate he'd probably spoken to twice. But here he was. Well, she said softly. Thank you. Really? Leo nodded, his eyes still on the road. Tell me about your day. Before the rain. Stephanie laughed, but it came out bitter. You really want to know? I asked, didn't I? Where did she even start? She leaned her head back against the seat, watching the city blur past through rain-streaked windows. My car died during lunch. Kyle was supposed to pick up Jay because I had that presentation with the Morrison account this afternoon. I called him at noon to confirm. He said he'd handle it. Then 3 o'clock rolls around, and he's not answering. So I left the presentation early. You left the Morrison presentation? Stephanie winced. Of course he knew about that. Leo probably knew about every major account presentation in the company. I had to. Daycare charges $1 per minute after closing, and that's if they don't call child services first. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the car's heat. My manager wasn't happy. I'm probably getting written up tomorrow. You won't. Mr. Hartwell. Leo. He changed lanes smoothly, cutting their arrival time by 2 minutes. And you won't be written up. Family emergencies take priority. Stephanie bit her lip. It's not really an emergency. It's just Kyle being Kyle. Unreliable. Selfish. The same guy I thought would be different once Jay was born, but surprise, he wasn't. She hadn't meant to say that last part, but something about the enclosed space of the car, the sound of rain, the fact that Leo had actually shown up when Kyle hadn't, it all made the words spill out. How long has it been? Leo asked quietly. Since you two split? 8 months. He moved out when Jay was 3. Said he wasn't ready for the responsibility, that he needed to find himself. Stephanie laughed again, hollow. Apparently finding yourself means partying in the North End and forgetting you have a kid. Does he see Jay regularly? Define regularly. He's supposed to have him every other weekend, but he cancels half the time. Always has an excuse. Work emergency. Came down with something. His apartment's being fumigated. Last month, he just didn't show up. Didn't even call. The GPS announced 7 minutes. And you still call him when you need help, Leo observed. It wasn't a question, but Stephanie answered anyway. He's Jay's father. I keep thinking if I don't know, give him enough chances, he'll step up. That Jay deserves to have his dad in his life. What you deserve matters too. Stephanie turned to look at Leo. His jaw was tight. His eyes fixed on the road with an intensity that seemed about more than just the traffic. You sound like you know something about absent fathers, she said carefully. I know something about people who don't show up when they should. Before she could ask what he meant, they pulled into the daycare parking lot. For minutes to spare. Stephanie felt a rush of relief so strong it made her dizzy. Thank you, she breathed. Seriously, I don't know how to thank you enough. Go get your son. I'll wait here. Stephanie hesitated, her hand on the door handle. You don't have to do that. I know. She searched his face for a reason, for some explanation for why her CO was sitting in a daycare parking lot waiting for her, but his expression was unreadable. So she just nodded and ran through the rain to the entrance. Miss Garcia, the daycare director, looked up with visible relief when Stephanie burst through the door. "Oh, thank God. We tried calling." "I know, I'm so sorry. My phone was dying, I was stuck, and—" "Mama!" Jay came barreling around the corner. A tiny tornado in a dinosaur t-shirt. Stephanie scooped him up, breathing in the scent of apple juice and finger paint and her son. Her whole world in 35 pounds of energy and questions. "Hey, baby. I'm sorry I'm late." "Miss Garcia said you might not come," Jay said matter-of-factly. "I told her that was silly. You always come." Stephanie felt something crack in her chest. "That's right. I always come." She signed the checkout sheet, grabbed Jay's backpack covered in Raptor stickers, and headed back out into the rain. Jay squealed when the first drops hit him, laughing like it was the best thing ever. "Look, Mama, it's raining." "I noticed, baby." "Can we jump in puddles?" "Not today." Stephanie jogged toward the Mercedes, Jay bouncing in her arms. We got a ride." She'd forgotten to mention Leo. "How exactly did you explain to a 4-year-old that your boss was playing chauffeur?" Jay spotted the car before she could figure it out. "Ooh, fancy. Is that ours?" "No, baby, it belongs to my boss from work." Leo had gotten out of the car when he saw them coming. He stood by the passenger door, apparently unbothered by the rain soaking into his expensive suit. He opened the back door. "You must be Jay," he said. Jay stared up at him with wide eyes. At 4 years old, everyone was tall, but Leo was particularly imposing. Stephanie held her breath, waiting for Jay to get shy or scared. Instead, her son grinned. "Are you a prince?" Leo blinked. For a moment, he just looked at Jay, and then something amazing happened. He smiled. A real smile, not the corporate half-smirk Stephanie had seen in meetings, but something genuine and warm. "Not quite, but I do have a fancy car." "It's really fancy," Jay agreed solemnly. "Is it fast?" "Very fast." "Cool." Jay scrambled into the back seat, suddenly unconcerned about strangers. "Mama, can we go fast?" "We're going the speed limit," Stephanie said firmly, climbing in after him and buckling him into place. She caught Leo's eye over the roof of the car. "Sorry, he's obsessed with anything that moves." "Nothing to apologize for." Leo slid back into the driver's seat. "Where to?" Stephanie rattled off her address, and they pulled out of the parking lot. Jay immediately launched into a detailed explanation of everything he'd done at daycare, barely pausing for breath. Stephanie listened with half an ear, but her attention kept drifting to Leo. He was listening too. Actually listening, asking questions about Jay's block tower and whether the class turtle had eaten its lettuce today. It was surreal. This morning, Leo Hartwell had been the distant, intimidating CO she'd maybe spoken to 5 times in 2 years. Now he was asking her son about turtles. They pulled up to Stephanie's apartment building 20 minutes later. It wasn't much, a 3-story walk-up in a neighborhood that was gentrifying but hadn't quite gotten there yet. Stephanie felt a flash of embarrassment as Leo put the car in park. He probably lived in some penthouse with a doorman and a view of the harbor. "This is us," she said, already unbuckling Jay. "Thank you again, Mr. Hartwell." Leo, I really can't thank you enough for today." "Mama, I'm hungry," Jay announced. "I know, baby. We'll get dinner in just a minute." Stephanie opened the door, then paused. What was the protocol here? Invite your CEO up for spaghetti seemed like a terrible idea, but letting him drive away after he'd saved her entire day seemed worse. "Do you want to, it's not much, but I can make coffee. Or dinner. I make really good spaghetti." "Well, decent spaghetti." "Stop talking," she told herself. "Stop talking right now." Leo looked at her, then at Jay, who was already tugging on his mother's hand, eager to get inside. Something crossed his face, gone too quickly to name. "I'd like that," he said. Stephanie's apartment was exactly what she'd expected, Leo thought as he followed her and Jay up the stairs. Small, crowded with toys and laundry, and the organized chaos of single parenthood. but it was clean and warm, and there were dinosaur drawings taped to every available surface. "Sorry about the mess," Stephanie was saying, shoving toys aside to clear a path. "Jay, put your backpack in your room, please, and wash your hands." "Can Leo see my dinosaurs?" Jay asked. Stephanie looked at Leo, clearly giving him an out. He should take it. He should thank her for the offer, make his excuses, and leave. He had a dinner meeting in 2 hours. A stack of contracts waiting for review. A dozen excellent reasons to walk away. "I'd love to see them," he heard himself say. Jay's entire face lit up. "Yes, come on." The boy grabbed Leo's hand with complete trust and dragged him down the short hallway. Stephanie called after them about washing hands, but Jay was already throwing open the door to his room. It was a shrine to dinosaurs. Posters on every wall, toy figures covering every surface. Even his bedspread was covered in T-Rexes. "This is my collection," Jay announced proudly. "I have 17 dinosaurs. Mama says that's a lot, but I need more. Do you like dinosaurs?" "I do," Leo said, crouching down to examine a plastic velociraptor. "This is a good one. That's Blue, like from the movies. She's my favorite because she's smart and fast." Jay launched into an explanation of velociraptor hunting patterns that was surprisingly accurate for a 4-year-old. Leo found himself genuinely engaged, asking questions, listening to Jay's enthusiastic answers. When was the last time he'd done this? Just sat and talked with a kid about dinosaurs? Not since Emma was born. Not since. He shut down that thought before it could fully form. "Jay!" Hands. Stephanie called from the kitchen. "Now." Jay sighed dramatically, but ran off to the bathroom. Leo stood, taking a moment to study the room. There were photos on the dresser. Stephanie and Jay at the zoo. Jay as a baby. One photo of Stephanie with a man Leo assumed was Kyle, both of them younger, happier. No recent photos of the three of them together. He found Stephanie in the kitchen, stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce. She'd changed into dry clothes, yoga pants, and an oversized sweater, her damp hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked different like this. Softer. Real. "He really likes you," she said without looking up. "He usually doesn't warm up to strangers that fast. He's a good kid. He is." Stephanie finally looked at him, and there was something vulnerable in her expression. "I'm sorry if this is weird. You probably have somewhere to be. I clear my evening. You didn't have to do that." Leo leaned against the counter, watching her cook. He should tell her the truth. That sitting in her cluttered kitchen, watching her make spaghetti, felt more like home than his empty penthouse ever had. That her son's laughter had unlocked something in his chest he'd kept sealed for 3 years. "I wanted to," he said instead. They ate dinner at the small table, Jay chattering nonstop between bites. Stephanie occasionally telling him to chew with his mouth closed. It was chaotic and noisy and normal, in a way Leo had forgotten existed. After dinner, Jay insisted on showing Leo his favorite movie. They ended up on the couch, Jay wedged between them, pointing out every dinosaur and explaining the plot despite Leo having definitely already seen Jurassic Park. Stephanie caught his eye over Jay's head, mouthing sorry. Leo shook his head. He wasn't sorry. Not even a little bit. Halfway through the movie, Jay fell asleep, his head on Leo's arm. "He's out," Stephanie whispered. "I'll put him to bed." She scooped Jay up with practiced ease, carrying him down the hallway. Leo heard soft voices, a bedtime routine he wasn't part of but could imagine. When Stephanie came back, she had 2 glasses of wine. "I figure we earned it," she said, handing him one. They moved to the small balcony, barely big enough for 2 chairs, but with a view of the city lights. The rain had stopped, leaving everything clean and cool. "Can I ask you something?" Stephanie said after a long silence. "You can ask me anything. Why did you really come today? And don't say because I needed help. You don't know me. I'm just another employee." Leo took a drink, considering. He'd built his career on calculated responses, on never revealing more than necessary. But Stephanie was looking at him with those dark eyes, open and honest, and he found he didn't want to calculate. Not with her. 3 years ago, he said slowly, My wife went into labor early. I was in Tokyo for a merger. By the time I got back, she was gone. The baby, too. A girl. We were going to name her Emma. Stephanie's hand flew to her mouth. Leo, I'm so sorry. I wasn't there when she needed me most. I chose work over her. Told myself the deal was too important. He stared at the city lights. So when you called today, desperate and alone, I could not come. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, Stephanie whispered. They sat in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a silence of two people who'd both been abandoned in different ways, who understood what it meant to need someone and have them not show up. Stephanie's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression changed. It's Kyle, she said. He wants to come over. Says he needs to see Jay. That he's sorry and he wants another chance. Leo felt something cold settle in his stomach. What are you going to do? Stephanie stared at her phone. Kyle's message glowing in the darkness. The familiar words. The familiar promises. I'm sorry, baby. I messed up. I want to make this right. We could be a family again. For Jay's sake. For Jay's sake. He always said that. As if invoking their son's name somehow made his behavior acceptable, made all the missed weekends and broken promises disappear. I don't know, she admitted. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. I'm parked outside. Can I come up? Please. I need to see you both. Stephanie stood abruptly. He's here. He's downstairs. Leo rose too, his expression unreadable. Do you want him to come up? Did she? Stephanie thought about all the times Kyle had promised to change. The time she believed him, because believing was easier than accepting she was doing this alone. Jay asked about his daddy constantly. Wouldn't it be better for him to have both parents? Wasn't that what she was supposed to want? I don't know, she said again, hating how uncertain she sounded. The buzzer rang. Leo moved toward the door. I should go. Wait. Stephanie caught his arm. Please. I can't. Just please don't go yet. Something flickered in his gray eyes. He nodded. Stephanie pressed the intercom button. Kyle. Hey, Steph. Can you buzz me up? We need to talk. There was noise in the background. Music, laughter. He was calling from a bar. Jay's asleep, she said. I'll be quiet. Come on, baby. 5 minutes. Baby. He had no right to call her that anymore. Stephanie looked at Leo, standing in her tiny apartment, the man who dropped everything to help her. Then she looked at her phone, at Kyle's messages, at all the history between them. Not tonight, Kyle. Silence. Then, are you serious right now? I drive all the way here. I didn't ask you to. I'm trying here, Steph. I'm trying to be the father Jay needs. Jay needed you at 3 o'clock today. Where were you? More silence. She could picture him, running his hand through his hair, putting on that boyish expression that used to make her forgive everything. I got caught up. I'm sorry, but I'm here now. You're always sorry, Kyle, and you're never here when it matters. That's not fair. Fair. Stephanie felt anger rise, hot and bright. You want to talk about fair? I call you for hours in the rain, desperate, and you don't answer. But some stranger, my boss, someone who owes me nothing, he shows up. He drives across the city in traffic. He helps with Jay. He stays for dinner. Where were you? She hadn't meant to say all that. Hadn't meant to let him know about Leo. But it was out now, hanging in the air between the intercom and the silence from downstairs. You got someone up there? Kyle's voice changed, got harder. Is that what this is about? You moved on already? This isn't about anyone else. This is about you not being reliable. About me being done with empty promises. Steph, go home, Kyle. She ended the call before he could respond. Her hand was shaking. She pressed it flat against the wall, trying to steady herself. Leo was watching her from across the room, his expression careful. I should probably go now, he said quietly. Give you space to think. What if I don't want space? The words came out before she could stop them. What if I'm tired of space? Tired of doing everything alone. Tired of waiting for someone who's never going to show up the way I need them to. Stephanie, you showed up, Leo. You barely know me and you showed up. She crossed the room until they were standing close enough that she could see the silver threading through his dark hair, the lines at the corners of his eyes. Why? I told you why. Tell me again. Leo looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers gentle. Because from the moment I heard your voice on that phone, desperate and fighting and refusing to give up, I wanted to be the person who showed up for you. His hand lingered near her face. And maybe because I haven't felt anything in 3 years, and then you screamed at me in the rain, and suddenly I felt everything. Stephanie's breath caught. Leo, I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. I know you have a history and a son, and an ex who wants you back. I don't want him back. Are you sure? Because family is important, Stephanie. What you build with someone over time, that matters. So does showing up. She stepped closer. So does being there when it counts. Her phone buzzed again. Kyle calling. She didn't answer. Leo's thumb brushed her cheekbone. What do you want? That was the question, wasn't it? What did she want? The safe choice, the familiar one, the father of her son who promised he'd change? Or this, whatever this was, terrifying, new, and probably terrible idea? I don't know, Stephanie whispered. And this time it felt like the most honest thing she'd said all night. I really don't know. Leo nodded slowly, understanding his eyes. He leaned down, pressed a kiss to her forehead, gentle and brief. Then I'll wait, he said, until you do. He stepped back, moving toward the door. Stephanie watched him go, her heart pounding, everything in her screaming to ask him to stay. But she didn't, because he was right. She needed to be sure. Jay needed her to be sure. At the door, Leo paused, looking back. For what it's worth, I think you already know. You're just not ready to admit it yet. Then he was gone, and Stephanie was alone in her apartment. Kyle's messages lighting up her phone. The memory of Leo's kiss still warm on her forehead, and absolutely no idea what happened next. Her phone rang again. Kyle. Then a text from Leo. I meant what I said. About waiting. Take the time you need. Stephanie looked between the two messages, at the two very different paths stretching out before her. The safe one paved with history and promises of change. The terrifying one barely begun, built on a single day and a misdirected phone call in the rain. She set down her phone, without responding to either one. Some choices couldn't be rushed, even if your heart already knew the answer. If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering what Stephanie decides. Should she give Kyle another chance for Jay's sake, or follow her heart towards something new with Leo? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories about impossible choices and unexpected connections, hit that subscribe button. New stories every day. Thanks for listening.